heroes out.
I mean, not only that, I mean, the thing is with this Hoodwink, I think I saw it earlier, and you know what, there's the Leshrac pick, but I was about to bring up this kind of combination I saw earlier. I think it was CDEC running it, where they went Hoodwink, first item Veil pickup, so Veil of Discord. On top of that, the Aghanims rushed right after. So you had so much magic buff with the Veil plus the Boomerang being thrown out by the Hoodwink, and they had a POS 1 Leshrac. So basically, if that Boomerang hit more than one person, this Leshrac would just run in, pulse nova everyone down, and they just couldn't handle the damage output. So it was quite an interesting thing. I hadn't seen that kind of combination before, but it was quite intriguing to see in this region. And I think it's smart that LBZs actually took the Leshrac for themselves, because you don't really want to leave yourself open like that. Still, Team MagMa, they go for the Wraith King themselves now, so a POS 1, quite hard to deal with. You don't necessarily want to Doom him, you don't really want to Winter's Curse him either, because he does have that secondary life, so a lot of these heroes that LBZs have got against the side of Team MagMa aren't going to be quite as effective, I think, against the Wraith King carry, so I think it was a really nice position 1 pickup to make for MagMa. But is Wraith King still a good carry, John? That's kind of my question. Like, it does feel like it's dropped off quite a bit as of late.
It definitely has. Like, the impact doesn't feel amazing. I think in this scenario, what MagMa's looking for is just here to out-sustain Leshrac's damage, right? Like, the thing with Lesh, he has a lot of good damage on hand, but once he's out of mana, that damage output's not there. So, Wraith King with 2 lives, maybe they're hoping that he gets tanky enough that the burst damage coming through from LBZS just fades away with that Leshrac. And as you said, it's not the best target for the Curse, it's not the best target for Doom. So MagMa has a little bit more leeway with positioning the POS 1, but as a win condition, it feels awkward. Like, the push from the Skeletons feels lackluster without the rest of the pushing meta around it. We don't have heroes that build Necronomicon. It's not an item anymore. And if you're hoping out for a Book of the Dead, then I think you've got some issues with your game plan there. So it just doesn't hit those timings anymore that we're used to seeing, at least in the early to mid. Late game, it's still potent, right? Like, 2 lives on hand, potentially the Ags coming through is pretty big. You're just talking ultra late game. Like, we're talking about 60, 70 minutes, and that's hoping that you can keep up with farm, which is something that we've seen Wraith Kings kind of struggle with as well. Just even with the creeps on hand, even with the skeleton summons, it just doesn't feel like he's the best flash farmer right now.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with this, right? He doesn't feel amazing at the moment as a POS 1, and just feels like there's endless kind of better carries out there that you go choose. But in this circumstance, it does make sense that MagMa do want to go the Wraith King route. I completely understand why they've gone down this route. Still, last pickup, John. Do you want to run the leaner mid? I mean, it does kind of seem like that's where things are going. You've got that kind of Hoodwink there who's probably going to be run as a POS 4 or 5. Tusk is flexible in that manner as well. He could be either the 4 or 5, no problems. The leaner, you'd have to imagine it just goes mid now. So are we looking for an offlane pickup? Unless MagMa want to run the offlane leaner.
Offlane Lena could work. You're just kind of scared because you don't know your matchup on the safe lane, unless it's a safe lane Lesh, if they really want to flex hard on both sides. I'd say that's the one shortcoming of opening up with that duo. Again, it's just kind of awkward when you kind of flex that hard, and they do go to Centaur, so it is our mid. Lena, Centaur offlane, gives more options, 2 really tanky frontliners, and 2 really hard targets for the Winter's Curse. Decent enough Doom target if you want to go that route, and can melt to the magic damage from Lesh, but that's kind of mitigated by a Hood of Defiance into Pipe. So it's a solid way of getting that aggression out from MagMa, playing around with the Laguna when it's up, getting this aggressive run in with your Tusk. You've got great follow-up for that Centaur once he has a blink, and it just gives you that capacity to play fast. Issue for MagMa is their tower push isn't great, and LBZS, we talked about the Terrorblade, it was left unbanned. Pick it up last, it's been winning. Why not?
It felt like it was a good pick as well, right? Like, into the Wraith King, what are you going to do against this Terrorblade? He's just going to pop meta. Eventually, he's going to have something like an Eye of Skadi up. You're not even going to be able to reach him. It looks like a very tough game already, just based off the draft v draft matchup here with LBZs and MagMa. It does feel like LBZs came out with the much better draft in almost every single way. Like, maybe the super early game is quite strong because you've got the Tusk on the side of MagMa. But it does feel like once you've gotten past that laning stage and you hit the mid game, it feels like LBZs is just all over it. And then when you get to the late game, it gets even worse because you're against Terrorblade Doom and Winter Wyvern. It just doesn't get any easier as the game goes on here for MagMa. Though I will ask you officially, John, which draft you favor going into this game one?
LBZS, they picked Terrorblade, wasn't banned. They close out with probably the best core right now in the POS 1. And of course with the Doom as well. Their lineup's so much more well-rounded. I think MagMa's draft has some sense, right? You play with your aggressive Tusk and your Hoodwink support. You play with the leanest timing from mid. And you kind of just go around with all this burst damage on hand. Terrorblade early on is not going to love this. Like, if you catch that Terrorblade out in the jungle, manage to get the Laguna off with a Walrus Punch, probably dead. Like, he's not going to have that much HP, and the Lena's damage will scale because it's pure. So to a certain extent, the Terrorblade will always feel a bit scared of that Lena core. The issue is MagMa has to play that perfectly. They have to get good wards out. They have to move relatively quick in the pace of the game. They can't afford to slack off here, right? Like, they have to hit these timings from the laning phase and keep running. The moment they slow down, the moment you give any breathing room to LBZS, they will have a lot more to play with. Like, the Doom enjoys a slower game, the Terrorblade enjoys a slower game, their skills have longer cooldowns with the Metamorphosis and Doom, so it's in their interest on LBZS's side to actually not even engage. And if MagMa doesn't apply that pressure, well, they're just going to push this game towards a point where they might not be able to really recover.
Yeah, fair enough, John. Game number one, of course, we are going to go right into a pause. Not 100% sure what it's about, but looks like we were having some internet issues with Cat U, so he's reconnected now, and hopefully we'll get underway for a good game between these two teams. I do tend to agree with you, by the way, John, in case I didn't make it very obvious earlier on. I do agree that LBZS has the much better draft, just based off how we're looking at things, but, you know, maybe that won't matter, because right now Cat U apparently has 200 ping going on. So I guess it really just doesn't matter.
Yeah, you know how it is. Sometimes the servers don't play nice. Sometimes they don't let you watch from in-game light. But at the least, I can see what your wonderful eyes are looking at yourself. You know, we're on the same page now. Great.
For what? Very, very good stuff.
It's at least we have to go ahead, so we're gonna have to see how they go. Again, elimination on the line. Yeah.
I was gonna say there were some lag issues earlier on as well in the previous series that I was helping produce.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm too shocked by the lag issues going on right now, as even I kind of feel like there's a bit of FPS dropping going on here. So I'm not really sure if the players are experiencing the exact same thing, but you know, it's another one of those days, John. Another one of those days.
Yeah. Man, it's been so long since we've been in the Chinese lobby. I think the last thing we did was PL CDA Season 2 and a couple of upper div games on Season 2 of China, just first week. It's been a while. I miss it. I do not miss this aspect, as it feels like there's a difference with Southeast Asian and Chinese pauses, right? Like, C pauses you expect. With Chinese pauses, it just feels like it shouldn't be happening to the players, right? Like, we're used to it because we know we're connecting from outside. It can be a bit difficult. Just always when the players are having issues, you know there's something wrong. Not like C, it's just every day. It's like, yeah, disconnect. What do you expect, right?
Oh, well, there you go, John. I mean, you talked about strange things happening. Now the whole team's disconnected. What did you do, John? What have you... You made it look too suspicious. Now everyone's just like, quick, disconnect, quick. And now here we are. We're with only 5 out of 10 players. Well, that's fine, John. I guess you and I can have a conversation. What is it, John?
Yeah, I think the LBZS boys want me inside. They saw we were having lobby issues. They stepped out so we could launch the game. Maybe they're commiserating with me. You know, they're like, "Oh, John's not here. He hasn't casted our games before. We want him in lobby. Why is it just Mike? The viewers in game, they can't hear John. It's not the same." They're saying, and so they're all disconnecting. See, Mike, they care.
Don't. I hope you don't really believe you're that important, John. Just trust me, you're not. Anyway, reconnections are coming. That's very, very good news. I'm sure the viewers can't stand another 10 minutes of hearing us talk about this kind of garbage, John. We are going to talk about the game. Going back to the drafts, though, while we do have a chance, we both agree that LBZS came out with the better draft. Is there any kind of situation where you see the draft of MagMa looking really strong, like any time during the game where we should be looking out for MagMa's draft kind of getting online, or...
Yeah, I think laning's gonna be something that they've got a lot of impact on. Like they have really good level 1 to level 3 across all their dual lanes. They can play pretty aggressive with a Raid King, Centaur plus their supports on hand. The follow-up from the Tusk and Hoodwink is pretty potent. So across each lane, you can play a little bit more forward. They just have to be careful about, say, the line getting some good Earth spikes off. And I think beyond laning, the first 15 minutes, MagMa has pretty big openings. Terrorblade's not going to feel great with just the Dragon Lance or just a Yasha or Sanj up. You can still run him down with your Lina, with your Tusk, with your Hoodwink. Once the Sharpshooter's up, you can keep that chase going with a Stampede for engage and disengage. I think the first 15 to 20 minutes is where MagMa's draft can look really nice. They just have to ensure they play around that time. If they do not, play around Laguna when it's up, immediately smoke, look for a gank, then they're really losing some of that early power that this lineup has on hand, and that's really why you draft like this. It's one of the reasons why you go for the Luna Core, because early game, you can kind of just play the creep wave, clear out with Light Strike Ray and Dragon Slave, but you have that huge burst potential with Laguna, and you have a Tusk and you have a Hoodwink. You can't really just sit back and let those spells fester there.
Another unpause coming out. Hopefully this will be the last one. So, as MagMa, they've smoked up as 5. They want to go for a fight. And I suppose there's no better time, because LBZS, they've been kind of unpausing and pausing so much, they may not be expecting this. As now KU is going to run right into them. Mian, he's going to see him. A nice bushwhack. Is it going to be enough, though? They've actually hit him from the high ground, and they're going to get the first blood.
Oh my god.
How does that... He was just on the edge as well. He just needed to get a centimeter to the left, and he would have been fine. But he does end up dropping, just barely.
I think the unfortunate thing was that he was caught while still in the Arctic Burn. He was still flying, and he wouldn't be patted out until that Arctic Burn expired. So he casts it a bit late. It stays up while he's chain stunned. He gets punished. Nice first blood pickup from MagMa, and that's what we need to see. Aggression from this side is always good news with this kind of draft. If they can keep that pace up, you're going to feel good here.
QIQX, nice Earth Spike. Take the bounty and let Mian have a bit of harassment on the way out. In fact, Wishing, he got the other bounty as well. So it's a 2-for-2 trade, fairly even start for both sides. And I suppose we'll start off with this bot lane where you do see the Terrorblade along with this Lion. Going to be up against Mian's Tusk, and you've got TZY there on the Centaur. This does kind of come across as a pretty strong laning phase for the side of MagMa, right? Like, there's not really much in the way of being able to deal with this Centaur Tusk, I'd say.
Yeah, it's not a very fun lane. Wishing's going for the usual build-up with Reflection first, so you're not going to quite have that potential to turn back, hit with Metamorphosis, and even if you did, those are 2 strength heroes. They're very tanky, and you don't necessarily want to commit that much onto those tanky heroes. Maybe by level 1, if you did go Metamorphosis, that's the moment you look for that play, but because of that Reflection, you kind of just farm up. Mian's going for this nice aggressive pull as well, just trying to get the EXP going, and that is one thing with the Tusk. Very EXP greedy, going for this play, kind of pushes the wave back a bit, and gives him easy access to level 2. Once you have that level 2 up, you've got Snowball potentially, or the Shards, with a tag team, along with a Chain Stun from the Centaur. That is a lane that Terrorblade really has to watch his spacing for, so Wishing's going to have to watch as the levels ramp up. And look at that EXP distribution. TZY's at 2 already. Your Tusk is still getting EXP solo. Very good plays coming out from MagMa early on.
Yeah, I like the fact that Wishing actually bought the wave behind that tier 1 tower, so he's going to kind of even it out anyway. It is rather interesting, though. They do manage to find so much XP on the side of MagMa at this bot lane, as we should have a look at the other lanes as well. Mid lane, you've got Dust there, along with X on the Leshrac. Leshrac versus the Lina. It does feel Lina favored, at least for the laning phase. Problem is, X can always go back to the jungle and just farm up with that Pulse Nova and the rest of the spells that he could just throw out. So it does feel like you're always going to have that catch-up potential with this Leshrac. As top lane, looks like we might lose Cat U on this Wyvern. Shylock, he's going for the kill. He's right next to him, but no, he can't reach. Not for the last hit in Cat U. He's going to go ahead and juke them out. Kaz, he could try for the cancellation on the salve. He's running a bit late, but no, the skeletons, they will get it done as Kaz. A nice bushwhack there. He might be able to secure the kill now as Cat U is dropping way too low. Does end up dropping. So they find a second kill of the game already, off the back of Kaz's second time on this Hoodwink. And screw what we said about the drafts, John. The laning phase for MagMa just looking fantastic already.
It really is, and that's the strong point of having 2 stuns in lane, Wraith King, Hoodwink, line up the shots, you've got good damage, good control. LBZS doesn't really have control, especially in that off lane. Like Catyu has a slow, has the Cold Embrace to heal up, but nothing to help them control, nothing to help them hold back that aggression unless Irving gets a nice creep. And right now he only has the speed creep, the wine creep, keeping them in that lane. So it's not quite the aura you want yet. Still rather early for him. At the least here, Irving is getting some good farm, as you'd expect from the Doom, 15 to 7 in terms of last hits. So he's not being zoned out. But you have to be cautious about bleeding kills out, even to the Hoodwink. Like you talked about Veil timing there. If Kaz hits it himself at a pretty good point, if he wants to, this game doesn't seem the ideal game. But any single item on that Hoodwink early on, looks like we were going for the Solar Crest, perhaps. You build up into that Medallion first. That could be potent. You have a lot of physical damage on hand, and enabling your cores to hit is just pretty much what Hoodwink wants to do.
Okay, you didn't get run into by Kaz again. I'm just going to take the bounty and make sure Kaz can't go ahead and take it himself. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, X, he's kind of surrounded right now. He had a Tusk on the right side, Mian. He's going to go ahead and secure the water rune down at the bot rune spot. Dust, he does go ahead and take the top water rune, so very nice from the side of MagMa. And they are going to be able to get both. So a pretty big win here for Dust. So he does push in the mid lane, which does buy him out the space to be able to secure both these water runes. And it's going to make X's life that much more difficult on this Leshrac now, as he does still have bottle charges, but Dust is just going to have that much more.
Yeah, and it goes down to that matchup. Like Dust just with 9 denies under his belt with some pretty good EXP to build up. He's just
Bot lane.
power low.
QIQX, he does end up dropping on the line. Mian, picking up that kill on the Tusk. They couldn't really go after Wishing, but it won't really matter. It's going to be the 3rd kill of the game already for MagMa. Well, LBZS still yet to pick one up themselves.
I'm not sure if LBZS is too unhappy about this, because they're sacrificing supports, but look at the top 3 in last hit. Outside of Lina, it's still your TB, it's still your Doom, and they're going to try to run forward a bit here.
They will, but it's not really going to amount to much. They just want to keep control of this lane, and I suppose you are right, John. I mean, it doesn't really matter so much about the kills as long as you are getting all this CSs. Now, they pop the meta, Snowball's going to be there, but they have the follow-up Hex to make sure they get the damage up, and a nice hoof stomp in from TZY is going to make sure they can't keep up the chase. So Wishing he'll have to get back to farming with this Metamorphosis. No real big problem, though, as Mian, he won't even have to run back to the fountain. He's just going to salve himself up and be just fine. They would have loved their first kill of the game, but they won't get it quite yet.
Yeah, it's, again, not too big of a loss. I think these early kills, they're still within less than a K of each other despite that, and their cores are farming really well. So when it comes down to it, you're still working this map quite nicely.
X, yeah, he's been caught out. They'll Cold Embrace to try and save the day, but Dust is still just surrounding him. Mian there as well. Nice shards out to block the way, and they do find a nice kill. There's Catyu. He's going to try and run, but the Light Strike Ray does connect still. QIQX, he does interrupt. He does save the day, at least for Catyu. But not so much for X on that Leshrac. And I mean, it's kind of nice to kill off Mian, but he's not going to mind. He just killed off that mid Leshrac pretty much by himself with the Lina. Meanwhile, top lane, Irving ends up dropping. Shylock gets a kill.
Yeah, that makes the situation a lot worse for MagMa. They were forced to rotate mid to try and salvage that situation. They give an opening up top for MagMa to get their own kill on their Wraith King, and it's still shaping up really nice for MagMa despite that. They are still trying to line up shots, but you're at the point with this Centaurus at level 6. He has Stampede, he's got the Vanguard. You're going to be hard-pressed to get that rotation off in such a tanky target. And MagMa, they're just starting to hit their spikes here. Not quite up yet, of course, it's still really early, 7 minutes in, but a 1 to 5 start still really good. They just need to find a way to slow down the Terrorblade. That's one big issue they have. Like, despite all these kills, he's still up there in net worth, and he's still going to be able to farm.
Kaz, going to be in a little bit of trouble. It's actually quite a bit of damage out, this Arctic Burn from Catyu, but Kaz is going to be able to run his way out. So to get a nice D ward off in the meantime. Back over to Mian on that Tusk, though. He's just continuously roaming between that bottom mid lane, making sure that it's not going to be a comfortable time whatsoever for X. And I do like that as well, because it is denying the right side of that Radiant jungle away from X. So he can't really go to that side of the jungle to try and really flash farm and catch up. It's a nice little tactic to ensure that he never really catches up to Dust. And that Lina. Of course, Dust is just going to TP his way back into the mid lane. It's like he is going for those early boots of travel, and I can't really agree more either with that Lina pickup, right? Like, when you're this far ahead, you may as well pick up the BOTs, and then you could just keep up the aggression and all this flash farm. And it feels like LBZS, they just won't be able to keep up.
Yeah, it just enables so much presence across the map. Lets you play your low cooldowns, look for a tower push, look for a counter rotational doe or centaur.
Yeah, meta's up. They got a nice earth spike, and even X rotates, so a stampede. It's not going to be quite enough. Finally secure a kill at that bot lane. TZY the one to drop. It does go the way of X as well, and he was quite desperate for gold.
Yeah, it's a big important kill to take. They have left their mid tower alone, but that does fall and opens up this rotation and triangle.
They got Cat U though. In that jungle again, just trying to hang out of the triangle, but Dust, he's going to get to work. He'll find another kill on the Lina. Even a nice bounty rune waiting there for him. 6th kill of the game already for MagMa. Is that mid tier 1 like you talked about, John? It's gone. Now with that mid tier 1 gone, we know what that means. The map is open for the side of MagMa and LBZS. It's going to be a lot harder to be able to secure this farm on your Lesh, on your TB, on your Doom, when you can just freely roam the map as MagMa.
I mean, it's so much more open for MagMa, and this is where the lineup hits its stride, right? Like 15 to 20 minutes, even earlier on, they just need to keep rotating. They're going again on TZY, though.
He's not an easy target, though. Like, they've got 3 heroes down here, but without the disable, it's going to be much harder, as now he gets a nice stun off. He'll keep trying to juke them out. Mian's going to show up. Snowball's there, wishing he's going to turn around onto the Centaur, but no! The Bushwhacker's there in time! They're going to save the day in TZY! He's going to be just fine to walk his way out. Great rotation in from MagMa. They even found X's courier. And a real disaster for LBZS as they are just continuing to find naught.
This is troublesome, right? They rotate, what, 4 people down bot, and they keep them there for at least a minute, 2 minutes to get those kills in the center. They find the first one, miss the second. They're losing that tower bot now. And this is just the power of the Lina early on. She has great right click with levels up. She has good burst damage. MagMa is playing around these power spikes really well, while also simultaneously buying space for Raid King. Look at the position our Raid King's at right now. Just in the jungle, AFK farming, no wards to watch this, rushing the Radiance before anything else, and that's going to be a pretty quick Radiance if he's just left alone to do this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, John, we talked about their draft being not as good as LBZS, but they're going to be this dominant in the early game. It really just doesn't matter. As Wishing, he's forced to go into the triangle now as this Terrorblade to try and get some safer farm and try and catch up. Feels like he's just going to be left so far behind now. Especially once that Radiance is up for Shylock. They are going to try and push in that top tier 1 tower though, LBZS. Trying to get something done, but MagMa, they're going to be around to try and defend this. You've got Dust and Mian coming from the backside. Cat U, he's going to break the smoke, but he will also be the first one to get caught out. Laguna out as well, just to make sure he dies, and now QIQX, he's gone as well as Mian. He gets a great shards off. He only gets 1, but that's all he wanted. He got the better target in X, and just Dust rushing forward onto Irving. He has the Yule Scepter, but he couldn't quite get in range for it. But this is just such dominant play from the side of Team MagMa.
Oh yeah, it's so clean. I have not seen a Leshrac struggle this hard to push in a long while, Mike. Like, no tier 1 tower down. Mid tier 1 still standing, top still standing. They find a rotation Wishing as well, but it's a bit forward. Kaz does not have backup. They still have an idea as to where Wishing's at, so they can kind of just plant those deep wards again. You can see LBZS, they commit 3 sentries in their own jungle just to kind of keep it safe for Wishing. That's a lot coming out from your supports, especially if that's from your Lion. That's stalling out your blink timing as well. So you're missing some aspects there because you have to plant these D wards down to ensure you have the space, because you lost all your tier 1 towers by 12.5 minutes with a Leshrac. Like, you're the Leshrac and you lost your towers. Not a good feeling for LBZS. They need to find a way to group together. They have Doom up, they have Winter's Curse, they've got Finger. I think they need a smoke. They can't just walk up to a tower, hope everything goes right. They need to find a pick-off first, and get a rotation out. They need wards in that opposing jungle just to watch the movement of MagMa. But MagMa, they've switched gears. Playing on that bot jungle, they're sort of declumped. It's only the Raid King up top. So they're just keeping so many options open on map, and they're just denying so many resources from LBZS. It's just not comfy for them to kind of split apart and be as efficient.
I mean, this game is just one of the roughest games I've seen in such a long time. So X, he does get the tier 1 top tower, but it was already on its last legs. It's not really too big of an achievement for him. You need something much bigger than that, but right now X, he just needs to keep his farm up. He's at 5k net worth, 3.3k behind Dust on this laner. It's a complete kind of outplay in the laning phases. Now bot lane, Irving, Shards, it's going to block the way. They won't get the Bushwhack and they'll get a nice Winter's Curse. Cat Yui's going to try and turn this one around. Beyond, Snowball is there. He has the Doom up. Even the Finger being thrown out onto Kaz. They just want him dead and they'll be able to get him. In fact, they'll find a double kill out. 4x on that Leshrac. Definitely a nice kind of set of events happening now for LBZS. If they can find a couple more of those scenarios, be looking sitting quite pretty.
Yeah, that's fairly deep for MagMa. The 2 supports just caught out without any cores to back them up. Not the best position, but I feel like they were going for the ward play. But that's where the defensive wards of LBZS kind of pays off. So finally get their investment back there, punishing MagMa for being a bit overconfident. Does go to one of the more important heroes to catch up. You mentioned how far behind X was. He is still behind, but it's something for the Lesh. Gives him more options. And they still need to kind of make use of that power from the Leshrac early on. The Radiance coming through for Shylock. He only lacks the recipes. What is this? 15 and a half minute Radiance coming through. Very scary timing from Shylock, and that's where he's just so scary up front. He has great burn damage. He's going to be able to burn through the Terrorblade illusions early on in a sustained fight. Even if you kill him once, he comes back, he's still burning you. The DPS early on that the Radiance affords can't be underestimated. It's just so good on the Raid King, and just don't have a clear-cut answer for that yet from LBZS. They don't have mana burn. They do have good damage, but the second life will almost always be there for Shylock.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge problem. So Radiance now on the way, so his farm just escalates even further. Wishing, I mean, he's trying his best to get this Manta style up, but even with that up, like, against this Radiance, it's just going to be so hard to be able to fight back and get away from the side of MagMa. So they even got the blink up now on their Centaur, just on the way in the courier. And once that blink's there for TZY, you almost certainly just want to get going as a team. Try to start making even more plays and keep the aggression up. LBZS, they're grouping behind X right now, just making sure the Leshrac remains safe. MagMa, they're going to take their time with this. Even with the blink up, there's no rush for them. They're just going to sit back, relax. Try to get a bit more farm up and just find that perfect opportunity to try and make a play.
Yeah, I can't fault them for feeling comfy right now with the state of the game. I do want them to still play fast here. Again, their timings are still a bit more compact. They've got to play within the next 10 minutes. I think at that point we want to see some tier 2s to start to fall. Really completely control the map. Because LBZS is still catching up. It's a Doom. You know, Irving is still finding farm no matter what because of how Devour works. And you're still getting your Terrorblade up to a decent point. Considering that slower start, at 7.7k, only about 1.3 behind Raid King's, not completely unplayable. It's only, what, one small difference in?
Spike Curse out on the backside. They've got Dust there to hold him down. However, they're still losing targets. They might lose QIQX very soon, but he does get the finger out in time. Still, here comes Skylock from the side. He wants to get to work. They've got X on the Leshrac. They've got QIQX on the Lion. And now they want Irving on that big Doom. He's been caught out by the Bushwhack and does end up dropping. And they didn't find anyone on the side of MagMa. Nobody dies.
That was just so clean from MagMa. Their spacing was perfect. The Winter's Curse didn't catch anyone out, so that was a wasted spell from LBZS. They never managed to use Doom. And TZY managed to jump the back line. He managed to get the stun off on the line before anything else could be done, any follow-up could be done, broke off that initiation. Just opened up that fight for MagMa. So the patience coming through there was perfect from MagMa. They get the punishment off. They're 6k up. They don't quite transition that entire fight into a push. They were a bit low on mana on their Lina, and their HP was a bit low, so they can't really get the objective out. But they are just constantly punishing LBZS, and I think LBZS right now, they're getting a bit jumpy, right? Like, they see a support, they see one core, and they immediately just Winter Cursed. There was no one around to get damage off in Lina, no one around to group up for follow-up stuns from your Lion, from your Lesh. So the combination falls flat. LBZS needs to maybe shake off the jitters a bit and put a lineup for shots.
TZY, mid lane, they've got the pushback, the Laguna, and there's your sharpshooter. Just, it's so easy for the side of MagMa, it feels like. In fact, they found another. Cat U, Yule's up. Stun is there, and they'll have plenty of follow-up damage. Kaz will take that one. Back Stampede pop, they want to go for more. Shylock, he's rushing for QIQX. He won't be able to get the Wraithfire blast off, but he forces him back into the fountain. And just look at the map right now, John. It's just, it feels like the side of MagMa owned this map completely.
Yeah, they've just got complete control right now. They've just managed to... They don't even have deep wards here for MagMa, right? They're just playing in the area. They know what LBZS is trying to do. Punished them for it. MyeonMyeon is solo, though. And unfortunate pause timing, as MyeonMyeon looks like there might be some laggers. No finger on our Lion. But Wishing might have enough damage to get this done. Could be a nice pickup. Not enough to compensate for what they've dropped across the map, though. And I think MagMa is still going to be feeling pretty darn good about how it's going. You can see Wishing saving up for the Scotty, has the Manta. So the stats are piling on. The gap between Wishing and between our Wraith King is a lot lower. Just 1k difference. So that issue of not killing off Terrorblade at all still stands for MagMa. They have not pressured the TB. They have not managed to gank him up. And LBZS has done a good job in protecting that win condition. They just need to kind of keep that going until the Scotty's up, until more items are running for that TB.
Well, they've got MyeonMyeon now, and I think he knows he's dead. Hex is out. He could try to buy some time with the snowball, and he's indeed. In fact, never mind Shylock. He's going to come in from the south. They do kill off one. It'll be a trade for now, but Wishing, can he get himself out of here? It doesn't seem like it, as he does end up dropping. And I thought it was just going to be a very easy kill onto MyeonMyeon, but hell, he almost got a wage on. That's the worst part. I mean, they got him in the end, but it's a 1-for-2 trade. You lost your Terrorblade in the process. It just gets worse and worse, and now MagMa, they have a 9k net worth lead. This is at just before 20 minutes in, 19 and a half. It's just too much.
It's perfect. MagMa's just playing so well. They're hitting these timings. They're playing aggressive. They're still buying out space for the Raid King. I was just talking about the fact that the Terrorblade never died, which was super good for LBZS. That one death might set him back, not by a major amount, but now it's back to a 3k gap between our TB and our Wraith King. You can see Shylock and company just going into that first Roshan. No wards here from LBZS to spot this out. And this is going to be big. 2 free lives on your Wraith King, if you want to go that route, is nearly, it's just obnoxious. Like, he's probably not going to die. The good thing is that Shylock doesn't have level 3 re-ink, so probably kind of redundant to go that route. They do go with the Lina Aegis instead, so Dust has the safety net to stand in front. LBZS now, the one kind of silver lining for this draft is their defense is really good. They just need a big Winter's Curse, and you've seen this from different teams across different regions. Once that Winter Wyvern manages to get a very good curse off, you can turn the game around. So there's a lot of pressure riding on our Winter Wyvern here, but when MagMa starts grouping up for the high ground, or even just the tier 2s, that's when the power of this combination from LBZS can start to shine. They just need to land it, and they get tougher. Dust has a really early Linken's up, so at least the Lina's protected, and if he's quick enough, he can protect someone else as well.
You just see MagMa, they haven't stopped. They just keep running across the map, trying to punish LBZS wherever they get caught out. Just not willing to give them the time to try and catch up, and and make this a more even game. They are just all stuck in their triangle right now. They've given Wishing the top lane, but that wave is only going to last so long. Triangle's already farmed up as well, so he won't have that to go back to.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
LBZS. They're just farming where they can, but the map's so small for them at the moment. Bot lane forced in as well. They've got to try and respond to that. Hell, Dust is even going to show up just in case somebody overextends. Maybe he could just burst them down. Nobody's going to make that mistake, but now Shylock, he's going to run right into Cat Yu. We'll start immediately chasing him down as Cat Yu is going to try and juke him out. They even have the courier looking for him, but he's blinked away. They miss out. Shylock, apparently the courier didn't really see Cat Yu, but it won't matter because now they're onto the mid-tier 2 tower.
And this push just goes so fast for the side of MagMa. They're secure the Aegis still for a lot longer. And this is not quite the clumped up area for LBZS, but again, they can still look for Winter's Curse somehow. And if they do land it, they can try turning around. They just really have to get the initiation right. We haven't seen them get the big curse. We haven't seen that impactful doom. All of that needs to come true if LBZS wants to start turning this around.
Gonna try and slow this down. It's just a very hard ask. MagMa, they're not going to overextend. They'll wait out the next creep wave, and of course, naturally, against the Leshrac, it is still rather difficult to be able to keep this creep wave alive long enough to get that tier 2 tower. They might have to just try and force a fight. LBZS, they are ready to start the fight if necessary and fight back against MagMa. There's now Shylock, he's in. He wants to go straight after X. Irving, oh, he's been bushwhacked up. They've got the Doom. He can't throw it out in time. QIQX is already dead, and the Doom, well, it finally does come out, but it's going to be on the center of all things. It won't do much as he just backs off, and now they go in onto X. Shylock, meanwhile, dropping low, but look at the damage output. He'll turn around. He'll secure the kill. They even find X, and now Cat Yu. He's going to try and run, but it will mean nothing. They all drop once again. Wishing he managed to get out of there, and Irving did the same. But that team fight, it was all over the place for LBZS. And even now, MagMa are trying to chase them down to try and find a bit more for themselves. They just don't want to leave LBZS alone.
Yeah, they're forcing the last 2 heroes away from their base. The high ground's under siege here from MagMa. And they're just able to rip right through. The damage coming through from Dust, the machine gun Luna just hits way too hard. That's probably a set of racks. Like, there's not much LBZS can do. They need to respond, but they don't have Winter's Curse, no Doom. They can't really defend.
Definitely one lane of Barracks gone. Top lane, TZY, Mian. Not going to be able to find any targets. That won't really matter. I mean, you've got a 13k net worth lead at 25 minutes into this game. You are well and truly ahead. There's now a sharpshooter or a sponge. Is that really going to be enough? Cat Yu, he almost ends up going down. Not quite. He does survive in the end as now the finger is there. But Shylock, he comes in. He wants his Wyvern and he'll be able to get it. In fact, they'll get QIQX to boot. They'll go for more now. X, he's going to try and fight back along with Wishing and Irving. But can they really do it? Well, maybe they can. TZY, he's dropping way too low on MagMa. They went a bit too far forward. Maybe a little bit too overly confident there from the side of MagMa. It does end up costing them 3 heroes. That was a 3-for-2 trade with the buyback committed there from Cat Yu. Definitely a little bit too confident.
Yeah, much too keen to jump out. They did force the buyback in the Winter Wyvern, and I think that might open up the opportunity. If they find the kill on the Winter Wyvern once more, they can kind of turn around, look for the high ground, not be scared at all about that defense with the Winter's Curse. So it's a bit of a precarious spot for LBZS. They're going to have to be a bit more defensive with Cat Yu. MagMa, they still have this 12k lead, 9-23. All the waves shoved in. They've got the melee racks advantage on mid, so that lane's always naturally shoved in as well. And they could look to wait for the next Roche right now. It doesn't look like they're quite keen on grouping up yet, but look at Dust, hunting for Wishing.
Oh, he's about to find him too. Oh, there's an illusion. Dust, he doesn't fall for it. He knows that's a fake. He's unable to find the real one, though. Still looking through the tree line, but Wishing is well and truly out, or is he? Mian now going to run into him. He won't make the jump in, though. Let them be. Said you might want to just go for a big team smoke up here if you're the side of MagMa, and that's exactly what they may do. Problem is LBZS, they're smoked up and they are as 5. Definitely a very dangerous kind of team fight to go into, and Dust, he's been caught out. They get the stomp off. Earth Spike, he got the Yules off in time. The Lincoln Spirit ends up blocking a lot of that disable, and now they can just get away. The Snowball, it does buy enough time. They'll look to turn now. Shylock, he's on a QIQX. He'll get the line, and there goes X. On the Leshrac, he's gone. Onto Irving, they found another. They'll get the Doom, and now Cat you talked about the dieback, John. There's your dieback coming out. They'll get the Winter Wyvern. No Roshan up, but they could just go for another objective.
Yeah, they can just melt that last outer tower here for LBZS and look to perhaps go high ground. The big issue there was the hesitation from Doom. He was waiting for the Lincoln's pop. The line was a bit too far back. Like, they jump in, they couldn't immediately break Lincoln's, and he couldn't get the Doom off. So that's what kind of lost him that fight. Just the spacing wasn't quite right from LBZS. The synchronization wasn't quite there, and MagMa just free high ground. No Winter Wyvern, no worries at all. At least once the Doom's back up, you do have Doom to play with, but the Lincoln's is still going to be an issue. So MagMa can just look to still pressure. No Aegis anymore, as that has expired a while ago, but you still have Shylock, level 3 reincarnation. If they don't kill him fast enough, even in the second life, he could just be back up as well. So it doesn't feel like there's much to lose for MagMa as they find that tier tree, and they choose to play safe as respawns are coming up, respecting that Winter's Curse being there, and the Doom, and the TB with meta could be a bit tough, but just so much control from MagMa. They can set up for that next Roshan. Looks like it is a bit of a longer timer, so we're gonna have to wait and see for MagMa. Probably just sit back, farm, keep control of the map. And for LBZS, I think this is the time where you plant some forward vision, get some wards down. They are pretty blind in this map. All I see are sentries coming out from MagMa and that one obs ward behind Roche. Not much else from LBZS. Need to get some of that control back just to give themselves some breathing room to actually play its game.
That they do, John. That they do. MagMa, or at least Shylock, he's looking to run towards the side of LBZS again, but won't run directly into him, just wants to go towards that top wave. These LBZS guys, I mean, they're just nowhere near a position where they can actually fight back. Even if they were, to be perfectly frank with you, MagMa just completely outplaying them every team fight. Well, here we go again. A 4-man smoke up. This time they won't have the Wraith King. Oh, Wishing. That's a big target. Smoke not broken yet. It's just an illusion. Wishing. He seems to know something's awry. There you go, Irving. He does break the smoke, but Mian is in. They don't get the Warrior's Punch, but they do get the Curse off to lock down TZY, at least for a second. But it was only on one target, and now the double stunts flying out. They found 2 huge targets. Wishing and KU are both gone. They call the GG. They have had enough. They can't defend without buybacks. And you can't really buy back without gold, John. And that is something that LBZS definitely don't have this game, as they were 21k behind at that 30-minute mark. Just absolute domination from the side of Team MagMa.
It was just really well played. I think, again, we go back to the draft, and you and I were in agreement that LBZS had a much more, a stronger draft because we've seen it more, but MagMa met their conditions. They played really strong in lanes. Their dual lanes just had chain stuns that could be so aggressive. They played around that 15 to 20 minute timing where all their heroes just feel super strong with the early items. Whereas LBZS, they needed more to come in for the Lesh. They needed more to come in for the Terrorblade. Even the Doom was pretty poor for what he was. It's a Doom. He's had to skip the Midas, had to just play with Devour, couldn't really build up fast enough. And the side of MagMa just managed to really work that aggression off. Like, they just play a wonderful, aggressive Dota. Actually, very reminiscent of Southeast Asia. So I love seeing that from MagMa. LBZS, they're going to have to shake that off. Again, they haven't won a series against MagMa, but they have forced Game 3 out from these best of 3. So we'll see if they can shake this loss off and bounce back in with a win to stay in the running for the road to Romania. But MagMa, if they keep this pace up, I can't fault anyone for finding this to be maybe a straight 2-0 for them.
Absolutely. With that, of course, we are going to head off to a short break, and right after that break, we're going to be back with game number 2 between LBZS and Team MagMa. We'll see you soon.